Is that time?
Good evening. I'm calling the regular meeting of the Daly City Library Board of Trustees to order Tuesday, July 17th. Would everyone please stand and pledge allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. May we have a roll call?
You may. Trustee De Vera.
Present.
Trustee Logarta.
Present.
Vice President Shubanka.
Here.
And President Lex.
Present. Thank you. The next item is approving the agenda. Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve.
Okay, it's been, the motion's been made. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Motion has been made and seconded to approve the agenda. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And would anyone like to move to approve the minutes of our meeting of June 19th?
I wasn't here.
I'll move.
Okay, a motion has been made to approve the minutes of June 19th's meeting. Is there a second?
I second that.
Moved and seconded to approve the minutes. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Our next order of business is election of officers. So, we talked about this at the last meeting, and the floor is open for nominations. I should add, we'll start with president. So, nominations for president.
Well, I'd like to nominate Trish. I just am so impressed with everything that you've done in the past year, and I think that you'd be an excellent president for our board. So
Wow.
I put my trust in you.
Thank you.
Is there a second?
I second that nomination. I think that that's a great idea. I think you've already done so much for the board. I think you'd be excellent representation for us.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded to nominate Trish De Vera for president. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, is there a motion to close nominations for president?
I motion to close.
Okay, is there a second?
I second that.
Okay, moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Okay. All in favor of electing Tricia De Vera as our next president for the board, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Or does it need to be a roll call?
I think you got it perfect.
Any opposed? Congratulations.
Thank you.
Surprise.
Yes, I know.
Ceremonial changing of the seats.
I didn't want to say anything.
All right. So Trish, you get to move up.
Okay.
And I'll move over.
You want to move over?
Yeah,
You can see.
It's probably going
I'll
to
go
switch
to the
again
left
anyway.
here. I'm always on the left.
Yeah, I can.
You got it?
Congratulations.
Am I ready for this?
Yes. More than.
Am I ready for this? Thanks, everybody. That was unexpected.
Well, I think that you've done a whole lot and very much deserve to be our voice.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Oh, and I want to thank Bill for everything he
I
did
know.
in the last year personally, and
Yeah.
if you'd like to too, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. It was a pleasure. And I'm happy to pass the mantle of leadership on to Tricia.
I appreciate that, Bill. Like I said, I'm very unexpected. I'm lost for words at this point. But I appreciate your leadership and the support that you've given me during this time that I've been on the board. As a newbie, I didn't know what to expect, and so I appreciate the time that you gave to give me advice and your thoughts and ideas when I had ideas and thoughts myself. So I appreciate all of your efforts. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate that.
We're lucky to have you as our new president.
Thank you. Okay. It's my meeting. Okay.
If you were taking notes, Trustee Lex handled that nomination process perfectly. So if you can duplicate that for Vice
I don't
President.
know. Let's see.
She was kind of in a haze there going, what?
I know, I was. Okay, so the next point on here is for the election of the vice president. So at this point in time, if we could have the nomination for vice president on the board?
Anything to say, Angela? Otherwise, I'd like to. Well, I've been thinking about this, and I'm still thinking that I'd like to nominate Bill because I think the experience that he has would help Tricia in her step up, and I think that gaining some more knowledge would bring both you and Lily up with him. So, in that respect, I'd like to nominate Bill for vice president.
Okay.
I'll second that nomination.
Can the candidate say something?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Lynn. But I can assure you and Tricia that I will do all I can do to support the board and Tricia as president, regardless of my position on the board. And, you know, with that in mind, I would like to, would it be appropriate to nominate a second person at this time, or do we have to?
Yeah, there's a nomination on the floor. I think probably see if that motion carries and then have a second nominee.
Well, we don't want to vote on my nomination, which would preclude
Oh, that's a good point.
any other nominations.
The other option would be to rescind the nomination.
Well, we can have two nominees.
We
can't
can have two nominations, all right.
Okay, well, I nominate
Okay.
Angela as vice president.
And I second that.
I would have to too. I mean, you've put in a lot of time and energy. I just wanted to. Yes, I second that. Third that. So I can rescind if you're okay with both that.
Or vote no, because there are two nominations at this
Okay.
point. Actually, the next step would be to close the nominations or ask if there are any more nominations.
Are there any more nominations? I think everybody's stated.
So
So do we have a motion to close?
Motion to close the nominations.
So moved.
And somebody second?
I can second that, yeah.
Okay.
Well, all in favor?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So the nominations are closed. We have two on the floor. We can take them up separately.
Well, can I just suggest that we take them up in sequence and that everyone vote for Angela when her name comes up, and, you know, we can, it's not necessarily a no vote to not vote for me.
But we're also missing one other
We're missing one other
person on our
member.
board, so.
And can I self-nominate?
Well, we've closed nominations.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
right, okay.
But it's still a majority, and we do have a quorum. So
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
we're
Yeah.
okay.
we're okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So-
maybe you can ask who
We
who
can do a
wants to
roll
vote
call
for
on this
me,
one?
and who wants to vote for Angela.
Okay. Well, the first nomination was for Trustee Lex,
Yes.
so we can, just for formality's sake, do a roll call vote on that. Starting with Trustee Lex, going in alphabetical order.
I abstain.
Trustee Logarda,
I would still like to be nominating Bill, but yeah, I will nominate Bill for vice.
So he's been nominated. We're looking for a yes, no,
Oh,
or
yes, yes.
abstention.
Yes, no, or abstention, yes.
For
Yes.
Bill.
For Bill, yeah.
For Bill.
So,
Yes.
Yes. Okay, we got one yes, one abstention. Vice President Chubunka?
No?
Okay. That pretty much kills the nominee. Okay, so the next nomination is for Trustee Logarta to be Vice President. Trustee Lex?
yes.
Trustee Logarta?
Yes.
Vice President Chubunka?
Yes.
And President De Vera?
Yes.
Okay,
Congratulations.
congratulations.
Pass that down and you can, do you want this seat and I'll go there, or I can go there?
Are you
You
comfortable
guys are
there?
side
I'm
by
comfortable
side.
here.
She's comfortable there.
There are no assigned seats.
I know, I've just been here forever. Got it. Thanks. Well,
Okay.
congratulations, you two.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, that was really unexpected. Got me tongue-tied a little bit.
To say the least. Any words of,
Yeah, no, well, thank
any
you.
words you'd like to throw in? Not that I'm putting you on the
Yeah, no,
spot.
thank you so much for the nomination and support. As a community member and, now a leader, I will give, my full attention. And I'm pretty sure that we have the support and of our fellow trustees, and we can use their leadership and knowledge as well. So thank you.
Great. Okay, shall we resume our regular meeting? All right, on the next agenda is the director's report.
And for the first time since I have been coming to these meetings,
haven't, thank
we actually don't have a specific director's report, so you can roll right into trustee's report, and I'll gladly participate in that discussion.
Okay, sounds good. So the next agenda item is the trustees' report, and that's for the advocacy related to kind of the funding measures and talking points. From our last meeting, I was put on my agenda to put a poll together to try and get on the calendar a special meeting to talk about fundraising events that we could partake in. And at this time, I actually want to postpone that motion to postpone the special meeting because I feel like I need to have more agenda items to discuss. And so before we put that kind of in black and white on the calendar, I think there are things that we as a board members need to kind of discuss so we can have a more solid agenda items to discuss. I know we take a lot of everyone's time, and I want to make sure we are mindful of the time that we put aside. And so I'd like to go back to this a little bit further on my end, and then reach out to everybody and do a kind of a doodle poll to find out your availability. But it's still in the works at this point, so I will postpone that for right now.
That was,
Is
it's
that
on the back
something?
side of your agenda.
Sorry.
C.
Oh, a
on
special
fundraising.
meeting, sorry.
So did you want to defer the entire discussion, or just that part of it?
I think it's all related, so I think I'm going to just postpone the whole thing for at this point. It's all related as far as the funding measures and the talking points. I mean, unless, Joseph, you have more updates on
The one update I'll give, if you've been following the city council's action just from the last couple of months, they did vote at their meeting of July 9, and they're actually going to retake it up, I believe, on Monday, the 23rd. So the city council is looking at 3 separate items for this coming November
Right.
agenda. The first is an increase in the business license fee structure,
Right. I think that's on the agenda.
which has to go before the voters and get 2/3, so 66% of the vote. The second item is specifically an increase in the transit occupancy tax, or the hotel tax.
Right.
They will give the exact number that they're seeking at the meeting of the 23rd, and that'll be on the ballot. And the third item is a cannabis tax.
Right.
And again, we don't have a retail dispensary in Daly City at the moment, but in anticipation that that eventuality happens, they want to have a tax structure in place.
Okay.
So I don't want to alarm anybody. There are no marijuana dispensaries in Daly City.
We don't
There
even
may
have a
never
marijuana
be.
bank.
But in the event that there would be one,
Mm-hmm.
that's another thing they're going to the voters for. So those three for sure. So the deadline to get anything on the ballot is, it's coming up really, it's this month, July. It has to be, the language has to be certified and sent to the county registrar. So they
Right.
will be doing a formal part of that on Monday, the 23rd. They've already taken the action to put those three items on. They were just finessing ballot language at this point. And I think they weren't quite sure on, I'm trying to remember from last meeting, if they had agreed on the percentage for the transit occupancy tax. I think 12% is the range they were looking at.
Okay, okay, okay.
Can I just ask a clarification? When you said a business tax,
Business license,
business license,
License.
okay, that's what I was
it's an
missing.
adjustment to the fee.
And does the transit occupancy tax require any kind of vote other than the
All
city
three of
council?
those would be on the
All three of
ballot.
them,
All
right?
three of those require
No matter.
66, yes, two-thirds, 66.6%.
Two-thirds.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, the threshold is lowered if it's a ballot measure of the people, that is, someone goes out from the community and gathers signatures. The approval threshold is 50% plus one, I believe,
Okay.
if I recall correctly. But for ballot measures, for taxes and fees brought forward by the city council, the threshold is 66%.
Okay, thank you for that, Joseph.
And maybe one other
And
thing,
the-
just before we
Yeah,
go away from that item. We do have the latest version of the talking points to share.
Oh, yes. That looks
Oh, you
great.
have it, okay, I just want to make
Yeah.
sure you had that. And we'll bring that back at the next meeting, too. I think we'll have some internal discussions as well. Just real briefly, we haven't, as a staff, really discussed these, but the last review I got, I thought some of the wording in here might cause some awkward moments among staff and the public if there's interactions based on
Okay.
these. I think this is a great tool for the Board of Trustees. I think it's a great tool for the associates or anybody advocating for Daly City's libraries. I don't want to put staff in an awkward position of having a discussion about some of the points on here.
For example,
Pardon?
what would be an outstanding example?
For example, what were some of the ones? Well, I mean, the part about, the libraries serve more customers than any other library in San Mateo County, but library funding is lowest per person spending, and the staffing is lowest. I just think that that's an awkward discussion for a member of our staff to engage in with the public. And I'm not saying I'm correct, that's just my gut feeling.
Yeah.
And we have not discussed this at all.
Okay.
Staff, Shayla's seen it, now Cole has seen it, and I've seen it. So as far as I know, it's just 3 staff people have had an opportunity to see this. And
I think the concern, Bill, is that the staff could be put in a position where they shouldn't be put in a position to answer specific questions related to kind of the overall, like for budgets, for example, or things about with the police and how they're 39%, a 15-point increase versus from the library funds, that type of thing. If questions arise, they don't want to be put in a position where they have to provide information, and that's not their jurisdiction. They shouldn't have to provide that information. So it's just they're concerned about questions being posed that they are not needing to answer. It should be answered by the Board of Trustees, if anything. So that's, I think, where Joseph was coming from about this would be a good tool for us as a Board of Trustees to give. I mean, that was brought to my attention as well, and I realized, yeah, that makes sense. Cool. I mean, if there was a patron coming in and saw this and was like, well, I don't understand this. Why is that, in 2008, there was 24 full-time employees, librarians, and now there's 16. Can you explain that to me as far as the budget's concerned? Why is the budget so, at this point, why is it this way? And that's not for you to say, right? I mean, it should be coming from either the trustees, one of the trustees, or even up above us to answer that kind of question. So they shouldn't be put in that position, I think.
And if I could add something else, I think what happens is when an employee is discussing the negative side of what's going on, it also lowers morale.
It deters them,
And
yes.
so I think what they should do, anybody reading this should just be directed straight to the trustees or to the DCPLA. Susan is, amazing at explaining things too, so. But as an employee, I wouldn't want to be giving anything negative out about my business. It could go back to my boss that I threw out a negative vibe, that I'm not happy here, and that's not what we want to project.
Well, this always was a Board of Trustees project. It's not a library staff project, and I don't expect the library staff to have to explain or to defend it.
Of course, yeah.
But, I would hesitate to soften the facts.
No, I don't
because
see any reason
they're
why this.
compelling and.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't suggest that you do.
Exactly.
And I personally, I don't have a problem discussing any of these things, but there's a lot of part-time staff, and I don't even think Cole necessarily at his level would have a hard time, but there's a lot of part-time hourly staff that would hate to be put in a position where they engaged in a discussion about.
Yeah, we just say either call the manager and the manager can start answering or direct.
Just
Or
directed to
refer
the
them
board.
over,
Yeah.
refer them over.
But I like the idea of putting these in the library. It's just, I think the employees should be, this is, my instructions are, talk to whoever.
I have a suggestion in that they look like bookmarks, so they're going to be, handed out like
Circulated,
bookmarks, and
yeah.
people will want to, I'm reading a book, I'm going to take this, and they will, come across this information, which is good. But I would suggest we have those DCPLA pamphlets and just enclose them in that, and so it's sort of like a contained message, and it's clear that it's coming from the board also, but it does point to the DCPLA and put it in there so it doesn't look like we are pushing an agenda as far as staff goes. And it's also possible that staff could be, oh yeah, I agree with all these points, and can really become political on the desk, which may be inappropriate also.
Right.
Well, perhaps we should put our name on this somewhere, We
Yeah.
should put our name on this. Daly City Library Board of Trustees
Right.
kind of,
And/or, yeah.
feels you should know or wants you to know.
I like that
or-
distinction.
Yeah. That's a good compromise.
No, because this is a great idea. When I read this, because I think we were just, had it on the board or on the discussion in April, and I missed May or June. So I like this a lot.
Well, it's gotten better, I think, with every iteration, but it's also taking a long time for, something that's pretty straightforward, I think. So maybe if we could wrap it up by the next meeting,
Yes.
Then it's ready for election time.
get it out, so people can see it and start becoming more aware, which is what the point of it is, is to make the community aware of what's happening to the libraries, so that if they care, they can support DCPLA.
Right.
And if they choose to speak to a council member, they can do so.
And what are your thoughts about, as Cole mentioned, putting it in the DCPLA flyer, so not to make it separated? Do you think that's a good idea versus
I do, because.
if we still want to have it available in the libraries versus just keeping it amongst the
I
board?
think it's important to have it in the libraries. I understand what you're saying, but the premise of this is to create awareness for an issue that has brought up meeting after meeting. I think that when we put it with the pamphlet, it provides a solution. But I think it's important to train the staff to kind of refer it over. I mentioned this before, but is it okay to post something like this on social media to get our points across? If anything seems to conflict, maybe we can soften the wording.
There are so many social media accounts associated with the city and even our department. I don't know if the Arts and Culture Commission has their own Facebook account. I don't
Right.
believe this board does.
No.
And I'm not suggesting you want that responsibility.
That's what people are reading.
DCPLA does.
That's what people are reading, so I
Yeah,
think
DCPLA
it's-
They
does.
have a page. Yeah.
or-
So is that something we
maybe-
could post?
I'm
some-
gonna
Oh.
defer a solid answer to
Yeah.
that to the next meeting, so I can research the social media policy.
Okay.
Okay.
And make sure it conforms.
It's not conflicting, and, okay.
My only concern with, and I'm not really clear on Cole's suggestion, but I would want the bookmark to be in a place where people are likely to pick them up. And if it's mixed with other material, I'm not sure that it would be as likely.
Okay.
That would be my one reservation.
What,
I was thinking that maybe we could have this and DCPLA brochure right next to it, or very close to it, so that the staff associate could pick up and hand both, or one and save for further information, here.
My suggestion was there's that brochure that appeals for membership, and so enclosing it in there. But even if it were some sort of literature holder that had this and the DCPLA's brochure and maybe something that you produced in addition, it would give a kind of separation from this is directly endorsed by the library, and it's really supporters of the library who are advocating on our behalf, and give that division, which I think is important.
So, yeah, we should put trustees, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
So we put in the bottom where it says join DCPLA area, put that trustees.
Yeah, under what can you do?
Yeah.
A, talk to a trustee, or A, join the DCPLA. But then, what I'm getting from here is that it's the DCPLA putting this out.
Well, maybe we should say, where it says Daly City Library Facts, it should say Daly City Library Board of Trustee Facts.
Right. To distinguish,
Yes.
because it isn't coming from DCPLA. We just put that on there to support DCPLA as far as
Yeah.
members.
Yeah.
Trying to recruit members, so that is one way.
And again, I don't think the staff should, bear any burden as far as this is concerned, other
Yeah.
than making sure there's a stack so people can pick them up if they wish to.
Daly City Library Board of Trustees talking points or information?
I think facts is just more
Yeah.
succinct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
And
know,
you're good at
talking
that.
points is what
Yeah.
we want to do as a board. We want to get this information out when we talk to people or to the council or to our neighbors. But, this is just pure information.
That's good.
Okay. So we'll get some edits on this and then,
It'll be back. next
Bring it
week.
back for final approval?
Sure.
Okay.
okay. Sounds good.
Any chance it could be sent out in advance so that, we don't have some additional, good ideas to add to the process? Okay.
Okay. Anything else to add to that, Joseph? No? Okay. And we've already discussed the special meeting, as I mentioned before, that I will do the motion to postpone that special meeting until I get more concrete agenda items on the table, and then send out a poll for availability for the board. Okay, the next agenda item, report from the DCPLA meeting. Bill, do you want to?
Yeah, my only report is just to announce the next meeting, which will be on Tuesday of next week at 11. That's the board meeting. I don't have a report on last month's board meeting. Joseph, if you have anything to
I
add.
sat there and I didn't hear anything.
Right, okay.
Okay. I do have something to add for the DCPLA. There's going to be, they have a save the date, author talk, and then also Crazy About Cars events. So the author event apparently is going to be at, it says here, see you at the 7, Stories from the Bay Area's Last Original Mile House. And that
Mile House.
is supposed to be on Thursday, August 23rd at the Ceremony Library from 4:30 to 5:30. That's by Vanessa Garcia.
August
Is
23rd.
the author. So that's August 23rd, 4:30 to 5:30 at the Ceremony Library. It's a free event, and there'll be books available to purchase for the event. And then there is the Crazy About Cars in Colma that's scheduled for Saturday, September 29th. And they're going to send out more information as the date draws near. And if interested in becoming a sponsor, if you know anybody that wants to be a sponsor, to please contact the DCPLA to let them know. So if you have anybody that might be interested in sponsoring themselves at the event.
Not sure, I mean, I do the books for the DCPLA, so we're getting sponsorship payments already, like people are sponsoring.
To purchase.
And there's also a pit sponsor. It's in a lower capacity, but I'm not sure what, but there's also a booth. So I'm not, I have to talk to Susan more about it, but they're going to have booths at this fair that.
Yeah, and I'm also sponsoring a little book booth area to purchase books. So I have used car books that are coming in.
Oh, fun.
So I think that's also another booth there. So that's one sponsor that I'm doing for that event is also
Good
to
stuff.
get some money for them.
Just one other thing while we're on DCPLA.
Uh-huh.
Since our president and vice president are both working people, I will throw out an offer to continue to act as the board liaison to DCPLA if you would like. And if not, it will not be a problem at all.
Okay.
Or I can fill in when you can't make it, however you would like that to work. So
Okay, we can
I'm more than happy
communicate that.
to support you. Traditionally, the president is the liaison
Okay.
person,
Okay.
but if you need any help or would want me to continue in that role, just let me know.
Okay. I appreciate you acknowledging us that we're working adults here. We're not tired quite yet.
Yeah, that you have families as well, but you know, it's
Yeah.
always, DCPLA board always meets at 11 on a Tuesday, so
Okay.
that might make it difficult.
Yeah, okay. Thanks very much for offering that, Bill.
Sure.
Appreciate that. Okay, the next announcements are, announcements and communications. Do we have anybody that has anything to bring to the table?
Just the one item that
Sure.
Cole distributed about save the date
Yes.
for the Project Read Trivia in November.
Oh, yes, I apologize about that. Where did my
I did
flyer
not
go?
save a copy,
My
so
flyer's here somewhere.
if somebody wants to read that aloud, in case people at home want to save the date.
Yeah. Save the date. 2026 Trivia Challenge on November 16, 2018 at 5:30 p.m. In South San Francisco, at the South San Francisco Conference Center, 255 South Airport Boulevard. General admission with dinner is $50. Trivia teams of 3 compete in a fun-filled evening. Team entry fee with dinner, $400. Contact Project Read, 650-829-3871 for more information. So,
I can't believe that's
sounds
been
like
a
fun.
year, almost
Yeah.
a year since the last
I
one. It's a
know.
great time.
Yeah.
I was there and I participated, so it was fun. It was an event.
It's a load of fun, yeah.
So if somebody wants to create a team, let me know.
Find out how much you don't know.
Exactly. All right. Okay, announcements and communications. Is there anybody have any announcements? I do have one, and that is there's going to be a national night out on Tuesday, August 7th from 5 to 8 at the Ceremony Center. So it says here, please join us as we celebrate the National Night Out, America's Night Out Against Crime on Tuesday the 7th. And it's going to be, again, at the Ceremony Center. I believe it's out by the Macy's parking lot where the Starbucks site is. I don't know east-west of the parking lot, but
Oh, north, okay.
is that
the
northwest?
farmers
There you go. Kind of on the other side of that farmer's market, the other open area parking lot. And they'll have different booths. are going to be there. They have different food trucks. The Daly City Police Department will be out in full force over there. The California Highway Patrol, the Daly City Park and the Daly City Library and Recreation Services will be there. The Daly City Water and Wastewater Department, and some of the vendors in the mall will be out there with booths. So it should be a good time. So they advise to bring out your family and support the police department.
And Madam President, if you would
Department.
allow me to add too, it is National Night Out, and although there is a big National Night Out event at Ceremony, there's also one at Midway Village, the same time, same night, and we won't be out there.
Oh, really?
With folks from the Library and Recreation too.
Okay.
And I believe.
Same time?
Same time.
Oh, okay.
So that'll be at Midway Village at their community center, and
wow.
Daly City Police and Fire and Library and Recreation staff will be there to support that event with that community as well.
Okay, thanks for that. And then the other thing I wanted to announce, it's not really related to Daly City specifically, but I did see through the Nextdoor app that there was a groundbreaking for the new Brisbane Library. So I wanted to just kind of make an announcement and give a shout out to them because they're going to be having a new library soon. They received a $1.7 million loan, I believe it was, to construct this new library in Brisbane, and it's supposed to open up in the fall of 2019. So I just want to congratulate them on that. That's great news for them.
Yeah.
So
Do you know when that ribbon cutting or it's going to be?
they did not say yet. So I was going to reach out to maybe David Canepa would know. I'll reach out to him and see if he can find out, and then I can let you guys know.
Okay, sure, that'd be great.
That'd be
Thanks.
nice. Yeah, nice opportunity.
Or groundbreaking, I should say.
Okay. For fundraiser events. I think that's all I have. Does anybody have anything else for announcements?
I don't.
No? Okay, so then we'll move down to the agenda building for the next meeting. So we're going to, on the agenda building, we are going to, again, go back to the advocacy. So hopefully I'll have some more concrete agenda items once I reach out to everyone to get some ideas, and then do hopefully get the poll going for a more specific date where we can meet as a group. And then, Joseph, you're going to follow up on the social media policies so we can figure out if we can put this little bookmark thing onto some social media.
I imagine we would do that in little bites at a time.
Yeah, that's fine.
And finalize the fact card.
What's that?
And finalize the fact card.
Yes, I have that as well, yes. And we're going to finalize the fact card with the updates that we talked about. Anything else? Did I miss anything else? As far as agenda building for next week? All good? Okay, well, the last thing is any public comments?
To Mayor.
Hello, Mayor Manalo.
Hello. There are no speaker cards, but I could fill one out.
No,
shortly.
not necessary.
But
Thank you.
Good evening to each and every one
Good
of you.
evening.
I do want to extend my continuous thanks to all the trustees that give their time and effort. I see that there's new leadership. Thank you for your leadership, past President Lex, and congratulations,
Thank
President
you.
Rivera and Vice President Lagarta, and thank you for your continued service, Trustee Shabanka. You know, it's, you know, our communities all together, you know, utilize the libraries, and to have leadership that care and continue to care about such a special place that we have in Daly City is huge. So thank you for what you're doing. I'm always here to listen and also support. You know, I will never forget my first library experience, as I mentioned. And now it's a museum, but that's the first library that I went to at top of the hill.
Sign of the
So-
times. Sign of the times.
Yeah, I am.
Hey.
I just did it myself.
Just kidding.
But also, so I wanted to extend my thank you, and then also for those of you that may have not heard, but right now we have an interim city manager, which is was a director of human resources, but she will be the interim city manager until we find the next city manager in the future. But we want to have a deep dive. We don't want to make a hasty decision, and that's why. And so I wanted to inform also the trustees.
Yeah,
So
sounds good.
thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any more comments? Okay, I shall adjourn the meeting.
Can we adjourn in memory of
Oh, yes, we would like to adjourn in memory of
Officer Alex?
Officer Alex, sorry.
His last name?
It's Roletter,
Alex Rouletter.
passed away today, this morning, or the 16th. What's today?
And we'll send his prayers to his family and friends. Okay. Meeting adjourned.